Was life truly better in the past? Or is it human nature to yearn for a golden age that never quite existed? Across generations, we've heard the complaint, things were better in my day. It's a sentiment as old as time, whispered in ancient Greek agoras and modern dining rooms alike. Yet today, amidst rising misinformation, eroded trust in institutions, and a fractured digital age, the question feels more pressing. Are we truly losing our moral compass? Here's the thing, moral decay isn't new. It's been a challenge throughout history, popping up whenever society starts to feel a little off. Across history and cultures, thinkers and philosophers have tried to understand why we feel like our ethical foundations are crumbling and what it means for the future. Take Plato, for example. Back in ancient Greece, he was pretty convinced that no matter how great society started out, it would eventually crumble because people got too caught up in personal desires instead of focusing on what's good for everyone. He thought moral decay was inevitable, like the changing of seasons. As virtues gave way to vices, society's moral compass would start to wobble. Now, to be fair, Plato wasn't perfect. He had his own views on the right way to live. But he did raise an important point. Once we lose sight of the bigger picture, everything starts to unravel. Meanwhile, across the world in the East, Confucius was offering his own thoughts. He believed that a society could only thrive when its people lived with moral integrity and harmony. His follower, Mencius, took it a step further, arguing that humans are inherently good. But even the purest soul could be corrupted by harsh circumstances. This idea feels especially relevant today as we see a rise in individualism where we sometimes forget that our actions affect the greater whole. And even farther afield, the Islamic scholar Al-Ghazali warned about spiritual decay caused by straying from divine teachings, a message that still rings true in a world where personal gain often takes precedence over spiritual well-being. Despite their differences, these thinkers landed on a shared insight. Moral decay isn't just about losing values, it's about the constant tug of war between personal desires and the greater good. And honestly, that tension has been the backdrop of every era of human history. The erosion of values doesn't happen overnight. It's not some dramatic collapse. It's more like a crack in the foundation that spreads slowly, almost invisibly. By the time you notice, the damage has already taken hold. These forces were quietly pulling us further from the principles that once grounded us, rippling outward in unexpected ways. Freud once suggested that we're driven by primal instincts, and he wasn't wrong. Cravings for success, pleasure, or power aren't just ideas, they're forces that shape our decisions every day. Picture a student aiming for academic success. At first, it's about hard work and dedication, but as the pressure mounts, lines begin to blur. A harmless shortcut here, a small lie there. It doesn't feel like much at first. Over time, ambition mutates into something else entirely, and the once clear sense of right and wrong gets lost in the shuffle. When fear of failure or hunger for power takes over, it's easy to justify actions we'd once considered unthinkable. These psychological forces, if left unchecked, erode not just individual integrity, but the collective sense of morality. Our internal struggles aren't the whole story. The bonds that tie us to each other, those invisible threads of community, are also fraying. In Tokyo, there's a term for a heartbreaking phenomena, kodokushi, or lonely deaths. elderly people pass away in complete isolation, their absence unnoticed for weeks. While this may seem like a uniquely urban issue, it's a symptom of something much bigger. Across the world, societies are growing more fragmented, with individuals drifting apart, even as cities grow denser. This isn't just a modern issue. Ancient Rome faced similar challenges as rural communities gave way to sprawling cities. The philosopher Seneca lamented the anonymity and detachment of urban life, warning that losing touch with one another also meant losing touch with shared values. And then there's the relentless pursuit of profit, where humanity often takes a backseat. This is where moral decay leaves the deepest of scars. The tragedy of the Rana Plaza in Bangladesh claimed the lives of 1,100 people when a factory, overwhelmed by unsafe working conditions, tragically collapsed. This wasn't just an accident, it was a stark reminder of a harsh reality. In their relentless pursuit of profit, corporations often overlook the safety and dignity of the very people who make their success possible. Sadly, this kind of exploitation isn't an isolated incident. Every day, workers, communities, and the environment bear the brunt of this system that prioritizes profit over well-being. The toll on human lives is incalculable, and the scars left on entire communities continue to reverberate. Few forces have the power to dismantle moral judgment as effectively as fear, and few wield it as skillfully as political leaders. A chilling example is the Rwandan genocide, where leaders used propaganda to fan the flames of division and fear. Entire communities were turned against one another, and the consequences were catastrophic. Fear did not just cloud people's judgment, it erased it entirely. This manipulation of fear isn't just a relic of history, it continues today, albeit in subtler forms. When fear dominates, it's not just morality that suffers. Our very sense of humanity is at stake. And the cherry on top to the challenge of moral decay comes in the form of digital anonymity. In 2014, the gaming community saw an onslaught of harassment against women. Anonymous profiles launched attacks without fear of consequence. It was a stark reminder that online anonymity can dehumanize interactions, making cruelty disturbingly easy. While technology connects us in countless ways, it also gives us a mask, a barrier that can desensitize us to the very real people behind the screens. And when we wear the mask for too long, we begin to forget the impact of our actions on others. Here's the thing. Fixing moral decay isn't about waving a magic wand. It's about digging deep, reflecting, and making real changes. From ancient wisdom to modern strategies, there's a wealth of guidance to help us rebuild what we have lost. Philosophies like Ubuntu remind us that our humanity is interconnected. I am because we are. It's a simple idea, but it's powerful. Similarly, the concept of Dharma teaches us that our personal actions ripple outward, shaping the harmony or disharmony of the world. These aren't abstract ideas, they're practical, choosing honesty when a lie feels easier, or fairness when selfishness tempts us, strengthens the moral fabric of our communities. Small acts, repeated, create a big impact. And morality isn't something that we're born with, it's something that we learn, whether it's parents teaching kids to apologize or leaders making tough but ethical decisions. We're always taking cues from those around us. So think about moments that have inspired you. Perhaps a kind gesture, a courageous stand, or someone doing the right thing when it wasn't easy. Even when things seem incredibly bleak, humanity has shown an incredible ability to rebuild. After the Rwandan genocide, communities came together to heal through truth and reconciliation. It wasn't easy, but it proved that even the deepest wounds can heal when people commit to shared values.